All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Marshall County Football Media Day. Thanks for the media that's here this morning, and we'll get started with the Asbury Rams and Coach Chris Williams. Coach, if you'll introduce the players or let them introduce themselves and give us an opening comment about your Asbury Rams for the season.
Yes, sir. To my right over here, I have Jacob Lindsay. He's going to be our quarterback and free safety. He's a junior this year. To my left is Corey Arvey. He's also a junior. He's going to play in the secondary and as a wide receiver. These two gentlemen went through spring, had a really good spring. We had around 25, 26 kids out for the spring. I thought we had a really good spring. The kids bought in, worked hard at practice. We got to go over to Crossville and play. Had a couple of really good series in that three-quarter jamboree. This summer we've been working hard. We're around 25 to 27 kids total. We've been averaging about 16 to 18 on workouts, and for us at a small school where a lot of our kids have to work, I thought that's been great. The last few nights getting ready to work on some 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 this weekend. The numbers have been around 20, 21 with a couple of guys sick, so we're about ready to start this coming Monday, wide open.
Okay, Coach, you talked about 25 or 26 on the roster now. Talk about returning players, returning starters. They may be playing in different places, but how many returning experienced players do you have coming back this season?
Well, we lost 3 senior starters last year. We've had a couple of kids move schools, and 1 or 2 that's decided not to play. So we have 2 returning offensive linemen. We have 2 returning skill guys, and then we got a couple of skill guys that played in different positions last year that were either subs, role players, or something of that nature on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we have about 7 guys that played core minutes during the game last year. So defensively, I think we'll be all right. Offensively, I think we'll be all right. The big thing is the experience, and most importantly, as it's been the previous 3 years I've been here, is depth. We've got to avoid the injury bug.
Well, Coach, that's Phil Harris, but that's what I was going to ask you about. You know, numbers being low, and you're in a very tough region, as always. But, success is important, and early season success has got to be very important for this football team.
Absolutely. The number one thing that we have to deal with is this, did I just go mute? There I go. Okay. The number one thing with us is, the region is tough. No disrespect to the region we're in. By all means, there's extremely good football teams there. Madison Academy, you just mentioned that name. You don't even have to go into any more detail. But to be able to get away from 5, Sylvania, Plainview, Geraldine, those guys that were local, our guys knew a lot of them, knew how great they were. The teams in our region that we moved into, they're still strong, they're still solid, established football programs. But our guys, they haven't seen them on film. They know that it's not your Plainview, Sylvania, Geraldine, and Fifes. So that gives them a little more encouragement going into those weeks. I think we have an opportunity to be more competitive with them. Our non-region schedule gives us an opportunity to be very competitive, and we have a lot more winnable games for us this year. And so, again, we avoid the injury bug. We develop some of our young kids to where they can play on special teams. So, a couple of you guys asked before we started, we know you 2 guys that are sitting here are going to have to play both ways. The more kids that we can avoid playing both ways and even on special teams is going to be a huge plus for us. The foundation, I think, is laid. We're going to try to run the football, shorten the game. We got to learn to tackle in open field more and not give up the explosive plays just so that we can have a chance in the second half.
Coach, this is a program that's still, sort of in its infancy, and last year you took one of the first steps forward with you won multiple games for the first time in the program's history. How do you build on that and keep it going from there?
Well, I think the first thing is the fact that, every year is a new year. Even though I've got 10, 12 kids returning that played established minutes last year, I think the number one thing is the fact that, confidence of winning some football games, confidence for us of being in those games to where, I hate saying this, but I'm a realist. My first couple of years, we had a couple of games that we played in the fourth quarter. We won one, we lost one, but the others, in the second half, there was a hot clock in the fourth quarter and sometimes even in the third. Well, this past year, we played in 6 games all the way through to the fourth quarter expired. And so this year, our goal is to make it 8 or 9 of those games, playing the entire 4 quarters and having a shot towards the end. And, you mentioned 2 games we won last year. We're hoping to build off of that and win 3, 4, or 5. And, again, it goes back to the depth and the injuries.
I'm sorry, not used to a mic. What do you feel is a strength for this particular squad?
Team camaraderie. They're coachable, wanting to learn. This is the most unified team that I've had in the previous 3 years.
Thank you.
Guys, talk about how important it is. Apparently, you 2 guys are leaders because Coach brought you this morning to Media Day to speak for the football team and speak for the school. Talk about how important that is to you and your leadership on the team. And Jacob, we'll start with you.
Yes, sir. Leadership throughout this team is very important for us because we have many kids that don't really know how to play the sport. It's just their first year coming back in probably 4 or 5 years. So just building them up and getting them encouraged to play the sport again.
Yes, sir. Everyone looks up to us as players, so it's very important for us to be. I don't know the word for it, but be role models.
Coach, you talked about these guys. I'm sure these are 2 of your leaders on the team, 2 of the guys that you're going to depend on. What makes them good leaders?
Well, I think to my left right here, Corey, for the coaches that we played against, he shot up a little bit this year. But for the last couple of years playing in the secondary, he was a little bitty old guy. You can tell he don't have a lot of weight on him, but he, pound for pound, has probably been the toughest kid I've had since I've been at Asbury. He's not scared to stick his nose up in there and make a tackle. He's had some big interceptions for us. And, I think he leads by example of kind of fearless. This one over here to my right, I will say the biggest attribute that I see of him as a leader is he demands the huddle, and he has our offense, and he runs the offense. He's very poised. He doesn't get rattled. Things don't go his way. And I think his discipline and internally the competitiveness in him to where he doesn't get rattled, and he's still coachable, and he's still calm, and he has that just the command of the offense, and I think that's very beneficial.
I think you were talking about a few minutes ago, this is your 4th season, I believe,
Yes,
at
sir.
Asbury. Are you where you thought you might be? Are you ahead? Or would you like, obviously you'd like to be a little better than
Right.
where you are, but are you, when you looked at it 4 years ago, going into the situation you were going in, is this kind of where you envision the program to be?
It's really close. I think with the fact of some injuries that we've had, and then some kids that's decided, that they didn't want to be the change. I'm going to speak just a minute about the previous school that I was at, Douglas, that'll come in later. Their senior class is a special group of kids, and I was with them as 7th and 8th graders, and Brady Thrower and all that group with Brad Pounds and the et ceteras. We tried to tell that group of 7th and 8th graders, be the change, and that's what some of these 2 and their classmates have done is when things are hard and you're trying to build a program, the good athletes have to fight through the adversity and say, hey, look, I'm not leaving and transferring to another school to look for greener pastures. Or I'm not going to have the attitude that 4 or 5 of our kids have had the last couple of years of, look, you know, you want us to help. Yeah, we can help you, but we're only winning 1 or 2 games a year. I don't want to do that. So they've quit. But these guys have stuck through it. And I think if those kids would have stuck through it, we might have 2 or 3 more wins. But other than that, you know, your question is, these next 2 years is where I expect a lot of bigger things from our program. And I think right now we're pretty close to where I wanted to be.
Coach, sounds from listening to you this morning, you have very similar issues that Brindley Mountain does, Coach Garner, with low numbers and just hard to keep enough players around year to year. How bad did the COVID era hit your program?
Well, you know, Coach is actually sitting in the back there, and he and I have a good relationship. He's a great guy. He's a great coach. You know, I think COVID has hurt the 2 of us extremely bad. I honestly believe that, you know, COVID hit us at, you know, going into my second spring. And when they shut us down until, you know, July, it was hard to get the kids there. I mean, we have a hard time getting the kids there when it's non-COVID. And then with COVID, then we had players as parents, and you had to respect the parents because nobody knew. I mean, I don't even know if we still know what COVID is. But those kids, their parents didn't want them to be involved because of the scarce idea or the unknown of what's going to happen. And then with our economy getting in the way that it has begun, these kids have realized, hey, I can work and make more money than going to football practice and winning 1 or 2 football games. And so since COVID, it's hurt us not only athletically, but I'll say this, it's hurt a lot of schools academically too, because the kids, you know, the virtual part, I'm not a big fan of, but I understand we have to do that for the health and well-being of everyone. But COVID really hit us hard.
This is for the players. Let us know, what is it like to play for Coach Williams? I know he challenges you off the field, or on the field, but what kind of person does he want you to become off the field?
I'll let you start.
He wants us to grow up to be like great men and respect everyone, even if it's just parents or someone trying to help you. He just wants you to respect them.
Building off of what he said, he just wants us to become respectable young adults going into our economy and helping out the world just any way that we can. I mean, playing for Coach Williams has been great. I've learned so many more things than I thought I could have.
Guys, I want to ask you another question, Jacob and Corey. When the coaches are not in the locker room, do you see a change in the attitude of this football team compared to maybe the other football teams that you've been on at Asbury?
Yes, sir. Our football team has been more motivated to actually go out and work to be able to win more games this year. Teams in the past have not been that motivated to get out on the field whenever coach is not in the locker room. Go out there, throw before practice, run routes, do one-on-ones, just getting better for the game.
Like he said, we go out there on the field and practice before practice, basically, and get better.
Coach, I think you alluded to it just a couple of minutes ago. You moved up from 2A to 3A this year. You're playing teams, I guess, that I don't know that you've played before. There's several in there. I know you opened with Gaston and play Ider and Brindley Mountain, but you've got Susan Moore, Pennington, Madison Academy stuck in there. Speak on your schedule this year and how you think you stack up against that schedule.
The schedule is tough, especially for a young program that we are. But again, I think we have a chance to be way more competitive from top to bottom. I alluded to this a moment ago about Madison Academy. You know, they were in the 4A semifinals last year, and I'm going to say it on public record. I don't understand with the numbers how you can drop a classification if you're in the 4A semifinals. But that's beyond my control, so I'm not worried about it. But outside of that, you know, you take Brinley and I both, and Coach will probably allude to this as well, we're excited to be in a new region to where we have the opportunity to compete with these other guys. Susan Moore's been solid for years. Vinemont, Danville, don't know much about them other than the fact that they're big and physical. J.B. Pennington, Coach Cassidy had ran an excellent program over there before he left to go to Chelsea. And so, it's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun to get to play somebody different.
Coach Williams, thank you. Thank you guys for being with us today. Good luck to the Rams this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.